4th, 2025. Mental Health Israel. Seek help and the stigma. On the news this afternoon. NLC President Ajero explains reason for suspension of protest. Law to establish University of Environmental Technology in Ogoniland, there's reaction. Government killed Chief Security Officer of Stadium in Port Harcourt. On the foreign scene, China announces retaliatory tariffs on some American goods. I'm Ifechi Kumoile with the news. Now, the national president of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Joe Ajero, said the union decision to suspend its protest today was to give the government 2 weeks to enable a 10-man joint committee to conclude and submit its deliberations. The 10-man committee is made up of 5 representatives, each from the federal government and the Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC. Mr. Ajero emphasized Labour's displeasure at the planned tariff hike, as well as the negative impact of the massive tax policy of the government on Nigerians.
We put on hold until the outcome of such committee is what will determine our next line of action in terms of protest, in terms of boycott, in terms of even withdrawal of services, which are the 3 issues we put online. But I will equally use this opportunity of this meeting to put in our displeasure on the electricity tariff and the tax that is killing the workers now. The tax regime, which is unbearable.
Minister of Information Mohammed Idris said both Labour and the government delegation agreed to allow a committee set up by the parties to review the studies conducted by the Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC, with a view to drafting an implementable resolution within 2 weeks' time.
We have deliberated at length. Crux of the matter is that there is already a study that was conducted by the NCC that led them to arrive at this 50% increase. Now, we are discussing this with Labour. Labour has agreed that they will look at that study, and then a small committee has been set up to look at that study once again and come up with a final resolution for the consideration of government and Labour in about 2 weeks' time.
As you may know, the NLC suspended the one-day nationwide rally against the proposed 50% tariff increase in the cost of telecom service. Meanwhile, the national president of the Association of Telecommunications Subscribers, Deolu Ogunbajo, says one of the key reasons behind poor quality of service is the lack of sufficient funds to invest in the necessary equipment for better service delivery. Mr. Ogunbajo said this during an interview on Nigerian FM's Morning Crossfire.
Part of what is leading to the bad quality of service is because they need funds to invest in the equipment to ensure good service delivery.
Now, he described the 50% tariff hike as excessive, adding that a 10% increase would be more reasonable alongside exploring other options.
We do understand that they need funds, yes, but not 50% tariff hike. We have said the 10% is fine with other options like going to the stock market to raise funds, do initial public offerings, ensure that the banks pay them what they're owing, the USSD charges, which they normally, remove from us as you are buying. So the money is with the bank. So why are they not paying the network service providers?
Mr. Ogunbajo said the association will be heading to court this week to challenge the tariff increase.
They have been postponed the implementation of the new tariff hike to March instead of February. That is one. Two, we are following the process and we are definitely, getting to court this week. Before the ones out, we're definitely going to be in court to tell them that they should not go more than 10%. We're not saying they shouldn't increase tariff, but we're saying the 10% will just be fine. That's what we're saying, sir.
Moving on. An environmental activist, Nimo Bassi, says the plan to establish the University of Environmental Technology in Ogoniland, River State, is an indication that the government understands the challenges facing Ogoni people. Mr. Bassi, Executive Director Health of Mother Earth Foundation, said this during an interview with correspondent Onyeka Chinwosu.
It indicates to us that the government and the legislators all understand that the environmental degradation in Ogoniland has become extremely significant, and that Ogoniland indeed is one of the most polluted places on planet Earth, and that it merits having a university in that territory that focuses on this kind of catastrophe. But indeed, again, I think it's also symbolic, because the entire Niger Delta has become a laboratory of pollution and reckless resource exploitation without accountability.
He, however, cautioned the people of Niger Delta not to be distracted by the report of the establishment of a University of Environmental Technology in the area.
Having a university is one thing, having it effectively operating is another thing entirely. Now, under the high prep, there's a center of excellence that's under construction. I wouldn't really be surprised if the idea is to turn that center of excellence into a university, if that happens established. Or, having a university in Ogoniland or in the Niger Delta, to me, is not a thing to celebrate. Particularly for the Niger Delta, we don't see a sense that the government is ready to clean up the devastation of the area. So having a university, to me, could be a distraction.
Mr. Bassey stressed the need for the government to prioritize the environment audit of the area.
What we need in the Niger Delta is the cleaning up of the entire region. We need environmental audits, then investment. If it's a question of jobs, investment in cleanup would be the biggest income job generation idea or enterprise in that region. Having university is a good thing because education is good now, but treating it in Niger Delta and taking it as something for us to applaud is what I do not quite.
Now, yesterday, President Bola Tinubu signed a bill for the establishment of a Federal University of Environmental Technology in the Ogoni area of Rivers State. It is part of effort to tackle environmental challenges and drive clean energy solutions.
By signing this bill into law, we are taking a decisive step towards addressing historical grievances and creating new opportunities for learning, growth, and prosperity. The university will serve as a center of excellence, equipping young Nigerians with the knowledge and skill to tackle pressing environmental challenges, drive clean energy solutions, and contribute to our national sustainable economic development.
In other news, police have yet to speak after gunmen killed the chief security officer of the Adokie Amesiamaka Stadium in Port Harcourt, Richard Timothy Jaminiwa. He was killed alongside his 23-year-old son, Tola Silas, in his home around Igurutali. His widow, Grace, told correspondent Mekotoka that about 7 gunmen dressed in black attacked her husband as he drove into his home. She said her late son was a fresh graduate of the University of Port Harcourt.
We went out around now to get some things. I was on 30th. So as we are about to enter the house, we called the house and asked my son to open the gate for us. As the boy opened the gate, we were about to enter. We now saw people in black, fully armed, entering with us with the car. They started shooting. Immediately, my husband opened the door. He saw his son among them. Immediately, he opened the door. Then they shot him on the head. Not once, not twice. So by the time I enter back to the house, I met my son, who just graduated for Uniport, ready to go and serve. I met the cops on the floor. The police came that night, took the cops, and they deposited them into the mogul.
Mrs. Jaminiwa described how she was taken into a nearby bush by the gunmen after shooting her husband.
I was able to escape to my backyard. So we then came to the backyard and picked me up. They took me out of the compound toward the bush, like 50 meters from the house. That particular time, I have the confidence now. I knew that there's no hope for me again. I called them. I find out from them their problem. Who are they looking for? Who sent them? They told me they did not come for me, the wife, that they come for my husband. They now asked me to bring money. I told them I don't have any money. But along the line, they shot one of their members. For them now to be able to just escape with the one with gunshot, they have to leave me and ask me to go back.
She further said her husband received multiple threats from individuals opposing his stance against the looting of properties at the Adokie Amesiamaka Stadium.
The DPO of a Greater Police Station 2 came to the house find out few things from me and said they will get back to me. They have been threatening him, and if they go to Greater Police Station, I think they have file there. He has many files of those that have been threatening him, those have been stealing from that stadium. If they go there, at least by the time they will know where how the case will look like. So that one will even help them. He has been going there to register all those same police station just because he didn't want them to empty the stadium. I think one or two occasions around June, July, he arrested 2 people, one from stadium, one from his yard. Nigeria should help me. I don't want my husband to die in vain because he fought for the truth.
Well, in another development, Blessing Anoya from Omagwa Community, Ikwere Local Government Area, says she hasn't still heard from the police days after she reported the disappearance of her husband, Felix Anoya. Mrs. Blessing Anoya, who spoke on behalf of the family, said her 56-year-old husband was abducted from his home in the early hours of Sunday by gunmen dressed in police uniform.
On Sunday early morning by 2 a.m., I had a very serious knock on my window. I now stood up and peeped, and I saw people with uniform, like police uniform. So they said I should open the door. I now ran away with my son. They now followed the backyard now and pushed the backyard door, entered into the house. They now took my husband away. They did not identify themselves that they are police. I want the public to help me and look for where he is. I want to see him come back in life. They took his phone. Up till now, his number is not going, and they have not called to identify themselves.
Also speaking, Anoya's brother Kingsley Onyebule appealed to security agencies and the public for any information that could help locate him.
What I want from Nigerian police and the public, whomever that knows his whereabouts, should please do well and contact us. Especially Nigerian police should do well and go in search of him. We're really worried, his family members and the wife and children. He's a genuine businessman. He's into hospitality industry. We don't know him for any bad trait of character. So please, we're requesting that Nigerian police is swung into action immediately for his immediate release.
Meanwhile, the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Botoku, has expressed serious concerns over the unethical practice of transferring ongoing cases without authorization and the misuse of public office by certain officers and individuals. The Force Public Relations Officer, Muyiwa Adejobi, in a statement on Tuesday, says such practices, which undermine investigations and erode public confidence in the force, will no longer be tolerated. The IGP warned that transparency, professionalism and accountability must remain the guiding principles of policing. Still to come, stakeholder speaks as world marks Cancer Day. Stay with us.
This is the news on 92.3 Nigeria Info.
You're welcome back, and now the rest of the news. The Rivers State government has launched a statewide vaccination of all livestock animals in the state following the outbreak of anthrax disease in Zamfara State. The Rivers State government has launched a statewide vaccination of all livestock animals in the state following the outbreak of anthrax disease in Zamfara State and other parts of the country. Governor Fubara directed and approved the flag-off of a statewide vaccination campaign to prevent any case of anthrax disease in Rivers State. In a statement released by the Rivers State Commissioner for Agriculture, Victor Key, said the state government is taking proactive measures to secure the borders of Rivers State from any outbreak of such diseases, necessitating the immediate vaccination exercise across the state in line with Governor Siminalayi Fubara's policy of food safety. The commissioner also said following the recent outbreak of avian influenza, which is bird flu, in the state, the Ministry of Agriculture is taking extreme measures to prevent further spread of the disease and has called on all livestock farmers involved in the rearing and sale of sheep, goats, pigs, cows, among others, and the general public to cooperate with the veterinary doctors during the vaccination exercise with the anthrax spores vaccine and report any unusual symptoms or sudden death of animals to the Ministry of Agriculture. The vaccination exercise will commence on the 10th to 17th of February 2025 across the 23 local government areas. The Commissioner urged all stakeholders and citizens to report any case to the Ministry of Agriculture on 0814-2631-325. That is 0814-2631-325. Or visit the River State Ministry of Agriculture at the Secretariat Complex, 5th floor, Block A. In other news, as the world marks Cancer Day, the Albinism Association of Nigeria has issued an urgent call to action to protect persons with albinism from deadly skin cancer. A statement by the FCT chairman Rex Erame said there is an alarming increase in deaths among persons with albinism due to skin cancer, citing lack of access to healthcare services, sunscreen, and protective clothing as major contributing factors. Now, he called for access to affordable healthcare services, distribution of free sunscreen and protective clothing, implementation of public awareness campaigns, and establishment of albinism-friendly policies. World Cancer Day is an international day marked on 4th February to raise awareness of cancer and to encourage its prevention, detection, and treatment. This year's theme is United by Unique, highlighting the value of individualized, patient-centered care in the fight against cancer. And now in business, the National Assembly will resume plenary today with plans to expedite action towards passage of the tax reform bill. The lawmakers adjourned until January 28 to allow various committees to conclude work on the defense of the 2025 appropriation bill presented to the Parliament by President Bola Tinubu on the 18th of December 2024. Now, however, the resumption was postponed to February 4th to allow committees sufficient time to complete ongoing engagement with ministries, departments, and agencies, MDAs, on the 2025 budget. In entertainment, American rapper Sean Diddy Combs, who is currently in custody at the Metropolitan Detention Center, was last night rushed out of prison to a nearby hospital for an MRI scan. According to reports, the rapper was taken back to his cell a few hours later. In sports, Napoli coach Antonio Conte is disappointed that the club were not able to sign Manchester United's Argentina winger Alejandro Garnacho or Germany forward Karim Adeyemi from Borussia Dortmund in January after selling Georgia winger Kvicha Kvaratskhelia to Paris Saint-Germain.
And now, we'll bring you news from around the world.
China has announced retaliatory tariffs on some American goods as U.S. tariffs on all Chinese goods come into force. The Chinese tariff, due to begin on Monday, would put a 15% import tax on U.S. coal and liquefied natural gas, plus 10% on crude oil, agricultural machinery, pickup trucks, and some sports cars. The 10% tariff on all Chinese imports to the U.S. began on Tuesday. Proposed U.S. tariffs of 25% on Canadian and Mexican goods have been postponed after last-minute talks. President Trump says the Chinese tariffs are a response to trade deficit and the flow of fentanyl into the U.S.
This is the news on 92 area.
That's a wrap on the news this afternoon. Before we go, let's have a look at the major stories. NLC President Joe Ajaero has explained the reason for suspension of protest. Police have yet to speak after gunmen killed the chief security officer of Stadium Road, of Amisiamaka Stadium in Port Harcourt. On the foreign scene, China has announced retaliatory tariffs on some American goods. The news was edited by Onyeka Chinwosu. To reach the news team, send an SMS or WhatsApp to 0808-721-7215. I'm Ifechukwu Moyele. Many thanks for listening.